Today we're going to look at a more complex web scraping operation using Craigslist. So this is going to give an introduction to these more complex types of web pages, and we're also going to show how to use classes to extract web content. So Craigslist is also interesting in itself. It provides lots of information on housing, as we read about in this Boeing and Waddell paper. But short of just sitting for hours on end clicking through lots of links, how are we going to access it? Well, as with any scraping project, the first step is going to be to get an example of a web page and see if we can reverse engineer the structure. What are the tags, what are the classes, and so on. So before we get to the detailed posts, so each post is its own web page, a lot of information is actually in this list of posts, which provides the summary information for each of these listings. For example, the city, the square footage, the number of bedrooms, and so on. And until late 2022, it was actually really straightforward to get this list of posts using requests. Unfortunately, Craigslist redesigned their website, and they use more JavaScript, and this method using requests doesn't actually work anymore. And there are some workarounds, but to keep things simple, I'm just going to download this list of posts to a computer using a web browser. And this is actually a great illustration of some of the annoyances and the occupational hazards of doing web scraping. There's no guarantee that the website owner isn't going to suddenly redesign their site or change the structure on you so your previous code doesn't work. So when you download this page in Chrome, you can do it in download, save as web page complete. You can also do it in Safari. And it's going to give you an HTML document and then a folder of some other files which you can ignore. And I saved this HTML file to our Git repository, so we're all working on the same one, as CL posts HTML. And we can open this file in Python using the read function. So this is where it's located, up one level, down one level into data, the HTML file. I'm going to read this file. This with function or with syntax is a really nice way of creating a temporary object. So it's saying that this open file object is going to be called f. But once we exit out of the indentation, once we run this line in this case, that f object is going to disappear. So in this case, it means that you don't have lots of empty or open files that are hanging around clogging up your workspace. And then our file object I'm going to read into this variable called save content. And then we're going to use our beautiful soup parser to turn this into a soup object. And let's look at the output using the prettify function in beautiful soup. So it looks like we have a lot of HTML, so it's prettified, but it's still not pretty. And we have a lot of information, but certainly all of what we want is it's somewhere way down at the bottom. I think I see. Yeah, for example, this nice listing that they have dishwashers, stainless steel, and plank floors. So again, this is a detective project. Let's see where the information we want is within this kind of intimidating mass of text. And as we saw before, opening up this page in the develop menu in your browser is going to actually be a nice way to go. So if I search for generous in my web inspector, I see it's enclosed in this li set of tags. And also, this is very helpful, it's telling me what the class is. In this case, there's two classes. It's a search result, CL search result, and CL search view mode list. This is something specific that Craigslist has defined for themselves. And this is a really highly structured web page, which in general makes it easier to scrape. So we saw find all, this beautiful soup function before. So here I'm going to find the tags that are called li. So we saw that the information we wanted was within an li tag. We're also going to make use of the fact that it was in a search result, CL search result class. So I'm going to create this result set of posts, and I'm going to print their length, and there's actually 120, which is a really good sign because we can see this web page has 120 posts. So something's going right. So let's look at a sample post. Let's just look at the third one. Not 0, not 1, not 2. Okay, so already we see that we've reduced this big mass of HTML down to something that's more manageable to work with. It has the title, it has the number of bedrooms here, and we even have the price. So we could go back to a web browser, we could use the develop mode, try and reverse engineer the structure, although this is a short enough snippet that we might be able to just look at the text. So in particular, we see that the title is in this class called title string, the brand new 2-bed, 2-bath luxury unit with a rooftop. And it also has the URL to the more detailed post within this title string class that's as something that's called href. So let's go one step down. So for this single post that we already extracted, let's see if we can find what is in the title string class. Great. So the title is actually in the text of this, and as we saw earlier, the URL is in the attribute called href. So let's just add text to the end and see if that prints the text, and see if we can get the URL by using the key of href. Great, so that works. Now, what about all the other information that we might want to find in this posting? Well, let's go back up. Well, the neighborhood here, it looks like it's in Hollywood. It seems to be in this class that's called meta. And then the number of bedrooms, this is also in its own class, post bedrooms. And the same with the price, and the same with the square footage as well. So find finds the first occurrence, find all finds all of them. Here we think there's just one, or we just want to get the first. So let's just use find rather than find all. So this would be the same as doing find all and just taking the first option. So this looks a little annoying to separate out. So we have the neighborhood, but we also have the when it was updated, and we have a bunch of other stuff. But here this is a nice structure. It's separated by these dots. So we can use Python's split function that applies to strings to separate out into a list that has this, and then this, and then this, everything that's between the dots. So let's give an example. We have a string here, splitting the sentence into words. What happens if we apply the split function? Well, it splits it on the spaces, which is the default. If you don't give an argument to split, it splits on the spaces, and it gives us a list with all of these elements. What if we don't use a space? Well, we can tell it to split on the I. Well, so this takes everything that's before the first I, that's our first element, then between the next two i's, then we're going to have ng space th. So it gives us a list of everything that is contained between these I separators, because we told us we wanted an I separator. So here we just want to separate split on the dot. So this is what we printed before. Now let's just split on a dot string. So it looks like what we want is in the second element. So we just add the subscript 1 to get that element out. So that was a little more convoluted. The price, number of bedrooms, and square footage are easier to find. As we just noted, they are in their own dedicated classes. So we can use the same syntax, posts find, but we just want the class price info, the same for post bedrooms, post square foot. Much easier to extract. So now we understand the structure of each page. So we're ready to put all the posts in a data frame, but we're going to save that for the next lecture. So the takeaway here is that unstructured web pages, or even structured web pages, they involve a lot more detective work and a lot of trial and error. Because some pages are going to be nice, they're going to have a consistent format, they're going to have helpful class codes and HTML tags. If you don't have as good a web designer as Craigslist has, it's going to be much more of a mess. So be patient, trial and error, keep going down the hierarchy to find what you are interested in.